Well, you know what time it is. Time for me to share another bad opinion on a weapon. And for once, it's actually a weapon that, believe it or not, is what I main in the console version of Rise. Because I play so many different weapons, and because I've gotten used to just switching in between and using what I like when I like, I've decided that weapons that I enjoy kind of go with different consoles when I have multiple copies of the game. So a good example is Hunting Horn right here. This is a weapon that I genuinely like in Rise, but I'm not a fan of in other Monster Hunters. They did a lot good with this weapon in this game, and it looks like they're reverting the progress that they did with this weapon for the better setups of World going into Wilds. Which, love it or hate it, that's just how it is. So, first things first, this is a weapon that, at the very start of me playing Monster Hunter Rise, I found myself enjoying the weapon to a degree. It had fun combos and gimmicks, it has fun silk binds. But as I went back and played games like Generations Ultimate, which in my opinion is a much more fun game, and I like to use that as my basis for all of my opinion videos, is actually me playing that in particular game and then translating my feelings towards specific weapons to Rise. The problem is Rise is just on PS5, so GU isn't. So obvious pick, I'm gonna go with the one that I can actually, record and make content for easier rather than long edits because of how Switch wants to have its recording set up and stuff like that. So anyway, the main thing about this weapon is I don't really enjoy this weapon as much as I thought I did. Definitely in comparison to how I started playing Monster Hunter. It's fun, it's got a lot of gimmicks, and in Rise especially, some of the silk binds are just fun as hell to screw around with. The main thing is, it is a support weapon, and I have more fun screwing around with it than anything. I've ran into people who also don't like this weapon whatsoever, and yeah, no, I can understand. If you like it because it's got the gimmicks and shit to it, being able to buff, change up things mid-hunt, and just, in general, exhausting the monster fast. It's nice to have a hunting horn, and there's not that many people who play this weapon. And if people want to say, oh, well, I play hunting horn, please do. I'm serious. Like, you would have no idea how very few people actually use this weapon. And it's genuinely frustrating to know that there's no one playing this weapon. And don't get me wrong, I'm gonna be the type of person that if I just never use this weapon outside of Rise, that's fine. Because I'm only using it on console on Rise on top of everything. So clearly I have my own issues with the weapon itself. And that's largely due to, well, the weapon is fun, and it's got a lot of things going for it. But it's actually due to the fact of the weapon in every other Monster Hunter has not stagger animations, but extended animations for your song playing. Granted, you can stack songs and stuff and, like, you know, do a bunch of interesting things, play multiple songs at the same time, and even in some cases, enhance the notes that you're playing. But I guess it's just because I'm not a fan of the leaving myself open for extended periods of time to play stuff. It's not even that long of animations, it's just enough that it screwed me enough times. It's like, if I'm gonna go for it, it's kinda gotta be worth it, if you know what I mean.
Your days are numbered.
And if you don't, I understand. No, this weapon is a weapon that I do enjoy playing a lot, in at least, Rise, like I mentioned before. And it's largely due to how it feels to play, how it feels to combo, and how it feels to utilize. It's not overly complicated. It can be at times, especially knowing that you've only got real access to like 3 songs, so picking a hunting horn that has certain note types over another one is sometimes just something you gotta do. Keeping your buffs up with the hunting horn is always nice too. It's a weapon that, depending on your playstyle, you're not really gonna vibe with this, honestly. Or maybe you will, who knows. Maybe you only vibe with it in World, maybe you only vibe with it in Rise. Myself, I realistically only have ever enjoyed this weapon in Rise. And that's not the weapon's fault, that's just my personal preferences coming into play here. Because it is a very aggressive weapon, by all category of the word, in Rise. It feels less aggressive and less flushed out in those other games, and that's the reason why it's so hard for me to actively use the weapon in those games. Because it just... Whereas I like what it is now, going back to GU, going back to even World, seeing where it was even a game prior, I'm really not the biggest fan of it, honestly. And that's actually not fair to the weapon. It's not fair to the weapon, it's not fair to those games. I would rather use a weapon that I enjoy in every Monster Hunter rather than only enjoying it in a single title. And the thing is, weapons that aren't super flushed out or feel like you're gonna get hit no matter what also aren't something that stop me from enjoying a weapon, because I've realized, you know, whereas, yeah, that was something that I used as an excuse at the very start of me using this weapon and why I didn't want to use it anymore. It realistically was just, the weapon feels fun now for me, but going back to those older Monster Hunters, I just don't enjoy it. I could probably get over how I feel about it, but in all honesty, it might just be a dual blade situation where I like the weapon in Rise, and my opinion of the weapon in other Monster Hunters are really what's driving my opinion here. Because I don't want to use a weapon that I don't enjoy in other Monster Hunters. I don't want to use a weapon that I don't enjoy in GU when I actively want to play GU with a weapon that I use in Rise, or a weapon that I used in Monster Hunter World, or a weapon that I use in Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate, or hell, even when Wilds comes out. So, honestly, the weapon is fun. It's something I'm going to use exclusively in Rise. And that's just kind of what people just have to accept. Because the weapon is fun for me in Rise. It's something I've enjoyed every time I've pulled it out in Rise. And I can openly state that it's something that I can use. But if you see me in GU, if you see me in World, this is gonna be one of those weapons that sadly just is not gonna get the time of day. Maybe in an arena for dicking around purposes, but even if something like Gun Lance or Light Bowgun or Charge Blade are an option, weapons that I don't use that much, I'd still pick them over a weapon I use extensively only in Rise, purely for the reason of I enjoy the weapon, but only in this one title, and I don't like that that's the mentality I have with it. It would be different if I could get over those minor issues, but I've actively tried, and my issues with it are just, I don't find it fun. And I feel like a broken record here, because, like, again, the weapon itself, if you enjoy it, I would love to see more people using this weapon. Like, for me, it's just not my preference. It's not my style. And no matter how much I feel as though seeing it in a hunt would be nice, especially if people enjoy it, even if you just enjoy the gimmicks it has. Like, it's something, because the weapon itself is a great weapon. I just feel like going further and further back, the weapon doesn't feel the way I need it to for me to truly enjoy the weapon. It's not something I can pull out and just be like, yeah, no, like, I can vibe with this. In Rise, I can use this weapon for an extended period of time. It's a weapon I don't have as much love for. So, you know, Rise makes every weapon relatively fun. With the exception of, I'm not a fan of bow in Rise. I'll get into that when I talk, actually get around to talking about bow, but I do want to emphasize that there is reasons why there are specific videos that have taken longer, and Hunting Horn was actually just due to the fact that I have had a very fun week spending time with some friends and getting a bunch of other stuff done. So the video got pushed back because of that and a combination of work and just in general a bunch of other stuff. As for what I recommend this weapon to people, again, yeah. Like, in all honesty, even if we were playing GU, even if we were playing, no matter what the game is, I feel like I'm always gonna recommend picking up this weapon and giving it a try. Because whereas I might not enjoy it, you might. And
Thanks, buddy.
if you don't enjoy it, there might be someone that you know that will. It is a support style weapon, that has a purpose for it. It can actually KO a monster and exhaust them. It can buff your team to make a hunt so much easier. It can prioritize healing if you really need it to. It can create a lot of different things and make for a very solid weapon. And whereas, yeah, there are gonna be those people who maybe ain't gonna vibe with that as much as you are. Sometimes picking a weapon you enjoy over what other people enjoy is just what you should always be doing. Again, this is a weapon that I might not enjoy myself in anything besides Rise because of how they've handled this weapon in Rise. And again, I always gotta emphasize that it's not Silkbinds that will ever be the main reason on why I like the weapon. It is nice to acknowledge them for Rise while I'm playing them. Like this one here is really nice because you can get away with KOing and getting headshots on stuff. But realistically speaking, most of the time when I'm hunting alone, I don't even bother acknowledging that Silkbinds exist. It's nice to have like the bigger attack ones, but those were mostly just attacks that were already existing in Monster Hunter to begin with. And like GU through abilities, so I mean, the only time I'll ever emphasize that I'm not a fan of Silkbinds is when it comes to like the evasion ones, if that makes any sense, and I never really talked about that. That really is something I need to address one day.
It's over.
But that's all I'm really going to say for this weapon. Honestly, it's fun. It's fun in Rise for me. It's not fun in GU or World for me. And if you enjoy it, don't let my opinion sway you from wanting to pick this weapon up. Honestly, Hunting Horn is one of those weapons that, if it was more catering to my style and my preferences in the other games, with being a hyperly aggressive weapon that doesn't have those animations where I'm stuck in place, it would probably be a weapon I would be using a lot more. But sadly, that's just not the case. Being stuck in place to play those songs is realistic. And I guess that's the reason why I enjoy Hunting Horn and Rise, because Rise Hunting Horn is really unrealistic to how this weapon would feel in real life. Or maybe I'm wrong. Again, this is one of those moments where if you want to share your opinion, by all means, go for it. I would love to know what you guys think in the comment section below, because the more I learn about how you guys think, the better my opinions get. I've made a lot of videos at this point, and some of them I would love to go back and remake, but at the time, my opinions were those opinions. Obviously, my opinion now on some of these weapons are very different to when I started, and hell, even some of my opinions after doing those videos have changed. Me spending more time using the weapon. I found that weapons that I called basic or called boring, I actually enjoy to a very large degree and would love to pull out in times every once in a while. Yes, I do want to play a main weapon, but I also know that I just want to use a bunch of different weapons. I'd I like to have that different option for stuff. And again, this is gonna go back to, I am by no means a good Monster Hunter player. Me not sticking to a weapon for an extended period of time will 100% get me fucked. And it's because I do have this wanting to get good with, well, not even get good with a bunch of weapons, but just using a bunch of weapons. Giving weapons that I never really gave a try is one of the whole reasons why I started this video series in the first place. Yeah, sure, talking about weapons I thoroughly enjoy is always going to be nice. And obviously, Greatsword is definitely a weapon I'm gonna 100% always love using. Sword and Shield is a weapon that, my opinion, has changed heavily, largely due to how things have gone here recently with how I've been playing the game. And even more than that, there are weapons in this game that, like Gunlance, that up until this video series started, I never even really gave it a try. I've given so much more time and energy into trying to learn each weapon and play each weapon. Obviously in my own time, and you know, using them in their barest states, and using them in GU, and trying different things all over the place to get a different sense of how I feel. And doing this in private has really kind of let me experiment and get a good feel for how I actually feel about a weapon. Do I enjoy a weapon because it's fun, or do I enjoy a weapon because it has some sort of gimmick? And if it's because it has a gimmick to it, what do I like about that gimmick? What do I like about the weapon? Do I hate the weapon entirely? Is this a weapon that I could use in Generations Ultimate? Or is this a weapon that I'm only going to ever pull out in one singular title and then never again? It's the reason when I say I am a Switch Axe main. I am 100% a Switch Axe main. That has not changed. That thought process, whereas yes, Switch Axe is a very, very fun weapon for me, and I'm always going to enjoy the fact that it was the first weapon I heavily looked into learning how to use properly. That doesn't influence the way that I enjoy the weapon. It's not because of Rise that the weapon is my main. It's because I took the time to start researching and playing the weapon and actively using the weapon in Rise and in GU and in World. Creating extra characters, creating extra accounts, so I can, you know, practice in my off days and stuff like that, and not affect progression or playtime on my main accounts and stuff. Or just in general, me having multiple characters made in the games and then not really using them. Mostly because experimenting with the bare basics is always going to be something that I'm going to end up doing and not really talking about. I guess it's just because I don't want people to assume that I'm over here trying to be good with everything, because I'm not. I go back to the basics very frequently on alternative accounts for the exact reasons of trying to have a better mindset with some of this stuff. If I wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't have enjoyed Gunlance the way I do. I wouldn't have enjoyed Switch Axe the way I do. I wouldn't have enjoyed Greatsword the way I do, honestly. And don't get me wrong, I really tried. I really, really wanted to like this weapon. I wanted to come into this video and be like, yeah, no, the weapon is actually insanely fun, and I recommend it to everyone. But when I can't really realistically do that, it's not because the weapon isn't fun or isn't enjoyable in other Monster Hunters. It's just I can't enjoy it in other Monster Hunters. I've tried. I've given it multiple days and extra time and extra effort in my off days when no one's messaging me and trying to realistically figure out what I want to say, figure out how I want to address the video. Do I want this video to be about the weapon itself purely, or if I want to add extra dialect to the video like I am now? See, the thing about this series and what I want to address going into the very last few weapons is I want you guys to take my opinions for what they are, my opinions. But I want you to experiment. I want you to take the time to try these weapons for yourself. See what you enjoy. See what you might resonate with. Because at the end of the day, if you're enjoying the weapon, if you're enjoying the game, even if I have the opinion that your weapon is fucking horrible, I'd love to see you use it and show me exactly why you enjoy it. I want you to talk about your weapon. I want you to be open about what you enjoy in this game. If you enjoy multiple weapons, use them. Have fun. It's a game. That's the fine line. There's so many times where people disassociate the fact that it is a game from the fact that it is, and be like, it's not just a game. And yes, to a degree, it's not just a game. You're putting your time, you're putting your energy. This is your escape. This is something you enjoy with an absolute passion. I know that there are going to be people who are always going to be like, oh, it's just a game, why are you getting pissy? Oh, it's just a game, why are you raging? Like, there's no reason for what you're doing. And yes, obviously, people who aren't gamers won't have this mentality of gaming is the one thing that we do that truly matters because it's how we choose to spend our free time and get enjoyment. It's how we de-stress after a long day. And if you're not gaming for those reasons, you have your own reasons. You have your own decisions and your own style of doing stuff. I'll be honest, I don't expect anyone to just be like, yeah, no, I play video games because, you know, I've got nothing better to do. If you game and you don't enjoy it, then be open about it. Tell your friends. Like, in all honesty, it might be something that gets you looked at, but I'll be honest, there's been times where I've fallen off of gaming as a whole. I've fallen off of wanting to play a video game. I've fallen off of wanting to spend time doing something I know I'm gonna enjoy anyways. And it largely is just due to the fact of we all have a different preference. We all have a different style of doing stuff, and that's why these opinion videos, whereas it might piss someone off because my opinions are definitely very vague and blunt and kind of just exist without too much context on how I even got to those points. But trust me, I'm not just going into these videos, voicing my opinions, and being like, yeah, no, this is like the end of the weapon for me. If I don't like this weapon, like, that's it. This weapon's just garbage, blah, 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 like... It's just how it is. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.